Joining us to unpack the U.S. electoral outcome is Thembisa Fakude. He's AfriCID Senior Research Fellow and Director. Good evening, Mr. Fakude. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. Firstly, your reaction to Donald Trump's triumphant victory.
Well, it didn't come as a surprise to some of us who've been observing the campaigns for both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So it has happened, and I think, contrary to what many people are saying, he has undertaken to end all the wars that are taking place at the moment, particularly two main conflicts. One is the war in Gaza and West Bank and Lebanon by Israel, and the other one is the conflict in Ukraine. So we are looking forward to that. I think he's going to start the negotiations in earnest with Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin, trying to solve that conflict. And he's also likely to make a telephone call to Benjamin Netanyahu to stop the current ongoing conflict in the Middle East. So lots is going to be happening. He's a transactional man, so his politics have always been maverick and very transactional. And I think that's what's going to be happening in the next couple of days.
That specific point of being a transactional man, if we had to look at him now becoming or being branded as this peacemaker, is it really what he is, a peacemaker, or this speaks to the level of protectionist politics here, where he's saying they're not willing as America to fund any war?
Well, I think this tenure is going to be about legacy for Donald Trump. He made a lot of mistakes in his first tenure as the president of the United States before 2020. So he'll try and rectify all the mistakes that he's made in the past. And by the way, after 2 years, he's going to become rapidly a lame duck president, because after that, the Republicans are not going to respect nor need him as much as they did this time around. This is the last time he can't be the president after this. So he's going to work very hard to make sure that he looks good and he ends his presidency on a high. I think any president who could save the Middle East from itself will be always revered in history. And he started the process in the past with the Abraham Accords.
But he has indicated that this presidency is about him keeping his promises. But what does this Trump win indicate about America's politics and the direction henceforth? Because, again, the protectionist politics seem to have won the day in an era where it's been stressed that here we are moving towards a global society.
Well, the American politics are actually, as I've said in the past, is a very fortified political system, including the foreign policy. So presidents really never do much. I once spoke to one of the officials in the United States, and he told me that presidency is all about time, nothing else. So what you'll see happening when I see Donald Trump being busy, as always has been, but you are unlikely to see policy change. The only thing that we might see, he might just shake certain comfort zones, particularly when it comes to multilateral platforms such as NATO, but even there, it's not going to do much. Foreign policy is not going to change in any way or form. In fact, even if Kamala Harris won, foreign policy was going to remain the same towards Africa, towards the Middle East. So Donald Trump is yet another figure that's just going to spend time. He will make decisions, yes, but basic, fundamental politics and foreign policy positions, those are not going to be impacted at all, and America is going to continue as it has been over the past decades.
But would that not pose a challenge for him? Because it seems that those who voted for Trump were saying they wanted to vote for change. Because we've heard from some commentators ahead of the elections that specifically abortion or reproductive health would have been among the key issues that would swing the vote in favor of one or the other candidate. But it seems that the economy, specifically inflation and taxes, as well as immigration, were the real deciders here. So if you're saying there'll be very little change, that would certainly pose a challenge for him, wouldn't you say, with the electorate?
Well, yeah, but he's got nothing to lose now. This is his last term as a president. So whatever happens is not going to impact on him in any way or form. I think what, for me, was stark in this election is how the Americans have moved towards the right. There is an inward-looking domestic policy that henceforth is going to impact on foreign policy of the United States. Donald Trump is going to be speaking and spending most of his time trying to rectify and speak to the internal challenges in the United States. Yes, he made certain promises, but there is this conservatism that is emerging and is much more strong within the United States. He will try and speak to that as much as he can, but really very few like entrenched political and foreign policy positions are going to change. And I don't think many Americans are going to feel shortchanged, especially the followers of Donald Trump. If he continues with his rhetoric of anti-immigration and is seen to be acting on rectifying the economic challenges within the United States and continue with his anti-multilateral and international institution rhetoric, he's likely to remain popular within his constituency.
This type of an electoral outcome would not embolden, or perhaps for some of those countries that wanted to move this route of conservatism or protectionist politics, if you will this not embolden them now? Because Europe was of the view that we're not going to see this wave somehow gain momentum of protectionism. But if in America now today, you say America today has indicated that they're more inward looking, they're more conservative than they've been before, can we not see this replicated across the world in certain parts?
Well, it already started way before Trump. In Hungary, people like Viktor Orban and others. France, for example, there's been some serious inroad from the right, and other European countries. So there is this emergence of right-wing politics. And Trump, of course, he was one of the people who started this movement. And I think
is it informed,
now,
pardon me for interjecting there, just in the interest of time, is it informed by the very volatile global economy here that you would see a lot of nations being more inward-looking to say, our nation first, everybody else second?
No, that's true. I totally agree with you. But also, we can't undermine the fact that the world is actually conservative. People are culturally, as Elon Musk put it, Christian. Europe is very Christian. United States is very Christian. So there's this agitation towards reviving this conservatism. And because, as Donald Trump put it, the ultra-left has been very, threatening the current status quo and culture in the United States. And people see Donald Trump as a person who's going to bring back the values and is going to push back.
But how was the ultra-left threatening? How was the ultra-left a threat in America? Because some have even been criticizing Kamala Harris for perhaps not trying to frame her message to be more left, that if anything, she was just far too liberal for what America probably required.
Well, the ultra-left has been threatening to the conservatives because they seek, for example, to introduce all kind of liberal politics and culture within the United States, and that threatens the status quo. You've got a very strong Christian American in areas such as the Christian belt within the United States, people who still do believe strongly on Christian values, and they see people such as Kamala Harris, who has been pushing for the abortion rights, for an example, as someone who threatens those cultural and Christian values. And Donald Trump is seen, notwithstanding, of course, that Donald Trump is known for his own shenanigans and sexism and other things that he said in the past. But he's seen as the person that can preserve and bring back those cultural values within the United States.
Thembisa, thank you very much for your insights this evening. That's Thembisa Fakude. He's AfriCID Senior Research Fellow and Director.